Thank you for your time in participating in this online training. This is a 3 days online training, and I will be joined by my group, my colleagues from Advantech Singapore, industrial equipment manufacturer. We call it IEM team. I'm Nolly. I'll be your host, and I'll be joined together with Shoen Kwang, our senior application engineer, Grace Ong, our A Online manager, Darren C, our key account engineer, Paul Yong, our key account engineer, Alan P, our application engineer, and Lishan Sim, our marketing. So today, this is the day one of our training. This is a 3 days training. And the first day of our training, the participants will learn about the fundamentals of Advantech WebAccess SCADA, the features, the system and network architecture, different types of nodes, the SCADA nodes, the project nodes, the clients, and the system requirement. We will also share with you WebAccess project elements, the step to build WebAccess project, and the start to create WebAccess project. We will also share the installation procedure of WebAccess SCADA through some procedures that we will share later on. And this is required actually for logging the data. So on the second day of our program, we will continue that we have learned what we have learned in day one. But this time we will include different Advantech IO modules together with our IoT development kit and connect Advantech IO to WebAccess SCADA. On the day 3, this is the last day of our online training. So on that day, we will visualize the project that we have done in day 1 and day 2 by creating a dashboard and GUI. We will also present different bundles, IoT startup package, and price structure of WebAccess. So, but before that, before the training, let me talk about who are we? What is Advantech? Since we have a limited time, please mute your mic, and if you have any question or clarification, please type in at the chat box, and we will answer at the chat box. And at the end of this live demo, if we have enough time, we will have a Q&A session. And at the third day, we will have more time to answer the Q&A by a live demo and allocate more time to the live Q&A session. So our colleague from Advantech Singapore, as well as from our headquarters in Taiwan, will also join us to help answer all your questions. You can also join us, or you can email us your questions, and we will reply to you via email, or if necessary, we can also call you. So I would like to talk about Advantech first. So at least you know about what is Advantech. I know that most of you maybe is already familiar with Advantech. We have a mission to enable an intelligent planet, and our revenue in 2018 is about 1.6 billion. And we have a market capital of about 1.03 billion as of January 2019. So we serve Industry 4.0, the Industry IoT, embedded computing, smart city for medical, retail, and logistics. And we serve worldwide IoT to system integrators and our channels. We have presence worldwide, like we have 3 manufacturing sites, 4 logistics centers, 14 repair centers, and we are present in 26 countries. Our regional business units are present in 26 countries. So in America, we have 550 colleagues, employees, and in Europe, 540, China, 3,100, since we have factory there, and in Taiwan, 3,400, and North Asia and Southeast Asia Pacific, which including Singapore, is 500. So as what I mentioned, our mission is to enable an intelligent planet. We co-create the future of industrial IoT and smart city through ecosystem, partnership, and academia collaboration. So we collaborate with workplace, education, ecosystem, and platform. Advantech is number 5 as the best global brands in 2018 in Taiwan. And in Asia, we are number 25. And in terms of the market share for industrial computer, we share about 34%, and we are number 1 in the world. So we talk about Advantech Singapore. Advantech Singapore is a subsidiary of Advantech headquarters in Taiwan. And we were established in 1985 with 50 employees, 14 sales, and 7 technical. We have a revenue of about 13.2 million in 2019. So we deliver more than 1,000 products and services in line with Advantech headquarters business group structure, namely industrial IoT, embedded design-in, and smart city solution. So in Southeast Asia, Advantech Singapore is the headquarters, together with Malaysia, Thailand, Indonesia, India, and also we support other emerging territories in Asia, like for example in Brunei, Pakistan, Philippines, Sri Lanka, Vietnam, Myanmar, and East Malaysia. So another important thing to take note for this online training, since this is an online training and we call it Jumpstart Your IoT Project, we are giving away Advantech Development Kit. As you can see in the screen, this is actually WISE 4012 with WebAccess text license. You just need to attend a 3 days training, submit your project requirements or layout, and a bit of the details of your project. So we will contact you via calls or emails to inform you if you have won the Advantech IoT Development Kit. Before the live demo, our key account engineer Darren C will present the basic understanding of WebAccess. We need to let you know and understand the basics of WebAccess first before going live, so that when it's talking about there's the terms and what he's referring to, you can understand what are those items that he's talking about. So he will be together with our senior application engineer, Sherwin Kwang. Okay, so without further ado, let me hand over the control to Darren C. and Sherwin. Darren?
Thank you, Nolly. Okay, I'll share my screen right now. Okay, are you able to see my slide?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's begin. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Darren. So as Nolly mentioned, I'm together with Nolly under the IEM team. So for today's session, we're going to cover the topic of Advantech WebAccess SCADA platform. We shall begin with the basic information that you will need before starting a small-scale IoT development project on your own. As we have different groups of attendees in this session, we will try to focus to cater for new user or for those who has heard of SCADA but do not know exactly what it is and what is its capability. So to answer the most common question for a new user, what is SCADA? SCADA is a supervisory control and data acquisition, which is a system comprising of software and hardware element that allows industrial organization to control industrial processes either locally or at a remote location. For this SCADA, it also acts to monitor, gather, and process real-time data, directly interact with devices such as sensor, valve, pump, motor, and more, through the human-machine interface software, and also to record event into a log file. However, today we are focusing on the software portion, and in a future session, we can further explain on the hardware portion, which begin with a programmable logic controller, PLC, and a remote terminal unit, RTU, in a different session. For WebAccess SCADA, this platform is designed and developed by us in Advantech. There are many SCADA system platforms in the market with their respective features built into the application. We're going to cover our WebAccess SCADA, the features and the protocol that is being supported. Our software was first released back in 2001 and it's a browser-based software. It can be used as an entry-level SCADA software for new users who wish to learn and develop before advancing to a higher level SCADA architecture. It's free for download and development, upon with a limitation of 2 hours runtime per session, unlimited session. You will have full access to all its features with no function limitation. WebAccess has 4 competitive features. The unique features of WebAccess, which makes it unique from the traditional HMI and SCADA software, is its 100% web-based SCADA. All the engineering works are via a standard web browser through the Internet Explorer. User can develop project, view and control automation equipment with full features SCADA function. WebAccess also have a powerful remote diagnosis maintenance functionality, which user can develop a central database from the project node to the SCADA node via their internet or intranet, so that user can easily control the whole situation and analyze the result via a client node. From the new version, the WebAccess dashboard is developed in the HTML5 platform, which can be supporting under most web browsers such as Internet Explorer, Safari, Firefox, Chrome, in smartphone or any pad devices. User can also get real-time information anywhere, anytime, via those devices through their web browser. However, for the configuration procedure, it has to be done via the Internet Explorer 9 and above. The last is the scalable system architecture, where access support around 400 device driver, including Advantech IO controller and all other major PLC controller IO like Allen Bradley, Siemens, Lawnwork, Mitsubishi, Beckhoff, Yokogawa, and more. Here's an overview of the WebAccess functionality. Let's look at the WebAccess project node. As you can see over here, and the SCADA node is the center of the whole architecture of the whole system. This is where it begins at the heart of the whole architecture. So you have your project and SCADA node, which can work separately or individually, as shown in this diagram. When you can choose between a distributed computing protocol via the communication if you were to separate the project and SCADA node, or you can host it in a single system for both the project and SCADA. In between the communication is using the remote procedure call, RPC, as you can see here, to establish that communication between the project node and SCADA node. Next, you have your field devices, such as PLC and PAC, IoT devices, IO module, are established towards the SCADA node, as shown at the bottom over here. As previously mentioned, there are total around 400 device drivers from different manufacturers being supported. Those industrial standard protocol, such as Modbus, OPC, Ethernet IP, DMP3, and BACnet, are supported as well. Next, for the architecture system that has a manufacturing execution system, MES, or enterprise resource planning, ERP, WebAccess can store the acquired and processed data onto a third-party database application. For example, Microsoft SQL Server, PostgreSQL, Oracle, MySQL, and more. This database can be supported on a cloud-based platform as well, such as Microsoft Azure, Amazon Web Services, AWS, or Aliyun. The protocol that is being communicated to those databases is the Open Database Connectivity, ODBC, via the native client. WebAccess also allows direct communication towards the MES and ERP system via API. It supports Windows, RESTful, SignalR API via the SCADA WebAccess. For any other third-party application software, if it is able to support Modbus, OPC, UA or DA server, Windows API, RESTful, SignalR, it can be established as well, shown in this diagram method. Finally, the output dashboard in the WebAccess can be on those platforms shown here at the top right-hand corner. Only the server configuration has to be done on IE 9 and above. Those are the functions and features at the bottom, which we will not cover fully as our objective of this session is to create and connect a small-scale IoT project using the IoT development kit. Okay. Next, we go into the network architecture. So I would like to introduce the component description first. So in terms of component, we have our project node. On the project node, it is used for development of your target project application. Similar to the whole project implementation, you can imagine this as the brain of the application processing as an analogy for better understanding. Next comes down to your SCADA node, which is used for connectivity to end devices. If your target project function, similar to the individual part or section of the project implementation, you can take this as the head or spine with the same analogy of a body, which connects the brain to other parts such as the joint and a finger. From here, the next level you will go to is the client. You have the client devices, which is used for remoting and control, similar to the GUI of your system application. You can take this as the eyes with the same analogy to view the status, make decision on the next course of action for control. Next layer we have is your field devices. The field devices such as PLC, PAC, IO modules as the input-output controller of that section of your project implementation, which we use it calling it as joints of our body. And the last will be your sensory devices or motor as an active device, which we refer them as fingers. So in summary, you have a total of 5 factors to remember when you're working on a SCADA project. And when you try to identify those respective components or under its classification, this will greatly help in having a full overview of the project and will help you to minimize the number of missing details. So the key point, we have the brain, which is the project node. We have the spine, which is the SCADA node. The eyes as the client, the joint for your field devices, and your finger as the sensory devices. Next, I will introduce the architecture description of our WebAccess. First, we have the redundancy system shown over at this diagram over here. WebAccess can be set up as a hot standby system with backup data synchronization between primary and backup SCADA node, as shown at the bottom here. These steps requires a dual gateway output from the controller device towards the primary and backup SCADA node system. Switching over between the primary and backup normally takes roughly about 8 seconds upon the detection of hard B failure. Backup nodes get its data from the primary node. Then the second architecture that we are able to offer within our WebAccess, which is we call it under the Super SCADA node, shown in this diagram here. This is used for expansion of a SCADA system. The Super SCADA shall be the centralized management for multiple SCADA nodes. With each SCADA node has its application purposes. In case you have any project requirement to use such architecture, do contact our sales representative and we can work on that or provide you with more details. For today, we are not going to cover into that topic. But here's a diagram for your understanding in terms of the network architecture capability by our WebAccess SCADA. So it's up to how you want to design your whole architecture. Next here will be the supported protocol and drivers available within our WebAccess. We have a driver list that you will need to review upon working on a SCADA project to ensure that the devices are supported. The driver list is constantly being updated as new hardware is being launched in the market. So as for our team in our HQ Taiwan, they will also keep this driver list updated. We are also able to establish direct communication with CNC machinery in terms of brand, as you can see over in our slide. So for example, Brothers, Siemens, those CNC machinery, we are able to establish communication towards the CNC and extract information for our SCADA system or even for monitoring system. Moving on, we have WebAccess is able to become the OPC server client setup. WebAccess support both this OPC UA client server. This means that you can make use of WebAccess to convert real-time historical data to OPC UA or DA and establish communication with other clients that are in accordance to the standard of OPC UA protocol. Those who have first time hear this OPC, let me just go into a bit field description. OPC is a software interface standard that allows Windows program to communicate with industrial hardware devices. It is used across multiple industries, including manufacturing, building automation, oil and gas, renewable energy, utility, and among others as well also. But just to let you know, we do support OPC, and in case you have any project related to this, do contact our sales representative. We will assist you accordingly, and we'll not cover for today. Next, we go into the WebAccess dashboard. So for WebAccess, our pre-built-in WebAccess also comes in their own database, which is via the Microsoft Access Point. In total dashboard, we have able to communicate or work with 3 types of dashboard available. But before we go into more details of the dashboard, first we need to understand that the dashboard is like the final drawing of your system. The data that is displayed on your dashboard is pulled from your database. Similar to those designing web concept, the variable is the containment of your value that you have acquired. And you draw and design the dashboard and pull those variable or so-called information value in, we classify it as SCADA text or text and output it onto the dashboard. So there are 2 types of database that you will observe for our SCADA. One we classify under internal, one we classify under external. So for internal database, as I mentioned, we have a built-in WebAccess real-time database, which call it short form WebAccess RTDB. The scenario for this usage will be this database is used upon when you set up your local SCADA node or a standalone system for data acquisition. It could be used at an edge level as well also. And it is the default database upon installation of the WebAccess. This means that the dashboard information is pulled from our WebAccess real-time database. For external database, which we refer to a third-party database, such as Microsoft SQL Server, Oracle, or MySQL, the dashboard has the option to pull information from those servers as well to display onto this dashboard information. The key thing to take note is that upon creation of your project node per WebAccess server, you can set the default database either on the WebAccess real-time database while having the certain IO value stored within your third-party database, or you can do the other way around as well also. So upon creating your IO tag, there's an option for you to store the value in either 2 of these options of your database. This one we will showcase later in our live session, that you can see where we can set up this particular setting and to have the good understanding which to select. Then after that, we go into our dashboard editor. So in terms of dashboard editor, you can have multiple different dashboard editor to use, either within a third party or within our WebAccess. So for the dashboard editor, first we have features called the Draw DAQ. This is used to create graphical for the runtime display. Text configured within the database can be associated with the graphical element to enable an animated display of the processed data. So this application Draw is actually a web-based version that can run on a client web browser. So if you have an external client PC or a client HDMI panel PC, you can display the content over there when it's connected to the project node. It also has a non-web browser version of the Draw, which runs on the project node locally or a combined project node or SCADA node system, meaning you are displaying out the content directly from the VGA or HDMI to your monitor screen using the Draw application as well. So this can be used as a standalone system and control room application. It also allows the engineer and technician to build and animate the graphic display. The second type of dashboard editor, where we use it to view information that you have already set up within your SCADA node, is called the View DAQ. So View DAQ is a non-web browser version of View application, and it runs on the SCADA node locally. So this application comes from the SCADA node itself. So it can be used for a standalone system and control room application as well. And it also provides a type of redundancy, allowing operator to view and control, even if the network is down, as long as you're actually accessing directly to the SCADA node. It allows to view all display, all system display, and view all the text, acknowledge alarm, or even access the scheduler, report, system log, and OBC database log through the View DAQ, which we later will showcase how we view it. And the third type that we have in terms of dashboard editor, okay, which is the application called Grafana, which is a third-party application. So this Grafana is a multi-platform open source solution for running data analytics. It's used for pulling up metrics that make sense to the massive amount of data and perform monitoring apps through its customizable dashboard. This was available since 2014, and the interactive visualization software provides chart, graph, and alerts when the service is connected to the supported data source. So all this, you can use it as for our dashboard viewer and as a dashboard editor. So that's where you create your dashboard via this few platform option, whichever you prefer. And also you will still be able to work with a third-party dashboard as well also. But our WebAccess do come with our Draw DAQ and View DAQ as part of the package or facility. We go into the alarm management. So the alarm management is also a built-in within our WebAccess. The alarm provides notification system to inform operators of the process and equipment status. WebAccess provides a full features alarm handling package developed for use in traditional distributed control system, DCS system. As mentioned, WebAccess supplies built-in alarm summary display, alarm group, alarm log display, and audible alarm notification to operator of the alarm. There is a list of alarm options within our WebAccess, which you can find more details within our training document that we will share at the end of this 3-day session. First, we go into the graphical alarm graphic. So the alarm graphic is a configurable for each tag in the system. From the alarm summary display, the operator can call up this alarm graphic with a single mouse click. The alarm graphic can be any graphical display in the system. Typically, it's a process graphic giving the operator the most information on the cause or solution of the alarm condition. Next, we have the email notification alarm. It's a standard feature within our WebAccess. No party software is required. Text can also be individually selected to generate an email and assigned to recipient email address, or assigned to a global recipient address to receive that notification. It also comes with SMS and audio announcement as well. Third, for the alarm group. So within the alarm group, it can be configured in this arrangement that you see on your left, the diagram. So those user, you can define those user under which group and to receive which type of alarm. The user can display alarm group using automatic generated alarm group display. So an alarm group is typically a processing unit in multi-process facility. So you can do breakdown in terms of alerting different operator or different sector within your organization. So you can do grouping on that portion. Next, in terms of reporting or exporting out information, so we have the WebAccess, which does support Excel report generation. So this WebAccess report can generate the historical tag database on the template built by the data table. An analysis chart can be reported as well also, but which you are making use of the Excel function to perform the chart. User and operator can build customized report templates based on Excel function and keyword and upload in the WebAccess Excel report function to automatically generate a daily, weekly, monthly, or a specific date. The function provides extensive analysis and view function for statistic and event data as well. Reports are easily built to follow the report template format based on Excel format. View immediately also in View DAQ. You can view this particular report in the View DAQ. And you can also export via PDF or CSV file for further processing or analytics. The newer version of our WebAccess SCADA, since 8.34, right now we are looking at 8.44, and soon we are having a version 9. So for this version, above 8.34 and above, WebAccess has a software incorporated in, which is the WeChat and Line features that was added in as part of the alarm notification method, by which the user can receive alarm message through the WeChat online. But for this individual application, there's a certain account that you have to create, for example, Line, that in order to incorporate the Line, you have to register. There's a certain subscription fee by the service provider of this chat function. So it also supports the IFTTT. What is this IFTTT? So IFTTT derives from a name from a programming condition statement called if this then that. So this company provides a software platform that you can connect apps or devices and services from different developers, such as our WebAccess application, to trigger one or more automation involving those apps, device, and services. So these are a few extended notification method that we have recently added in as well as part of a newer version of our WebAccess. We have also WebAccess now also provides different kind of open interface. So on the server side, we have the RESTful API, which provides the web service data interface for partners to build their app or application system. Signal R provides a low threshold of a .NET developer to enter real-time interaction world to effective data interchange by subscription. So we will not go into these more details, but at least you have an idea that we also cater different type of API that we can work with, and we also provide the development kit or SDK to connect or establish this API connection. So in case you have more project or you have this requirement, do let us know, and we will talk to you or assist to you on this separately. Carrying on, we have our WebAccess app. So this is a new mobile application, which is for the version WebAccess 8.3 and above, which can support this particular mobile app, which is WebAccess app. So with the Node.js as the underlying data transport layer, the data can be transferred to your mobile phone more quickly and instantly. WebAccess app provides a new interface and usage. After connecting to WebAccess server, you can do remote monitoring, control point, alarm, trends, dashboard, and communication status. It can also push alert through your mobile phone devices and remind you to take immediate action. It supports both on the iOS and Android devices. So if you want to perform a test, you can go and look it under the Play Store or the Google Store. You can search for WebAccess/app. So you're able to find the app in the Play Store. And in the description of the app, you were able to find a demo server to have an overview or have a feel how this app works or how you view the data. So the server IP, username, password, and the project name is all located within the Play Store description. So you can find out more information or try it out later if you like to. Next, we go into the MQTT broker and driver. So what is MQTT? So MQTT is a MQ telemetrics transport, which is a lightweight messaging protocol that provide resource constraint network client with a simple way to distribute telemetrics information. This protocol, which uses a publish and subscribe communication pattern, is used for machine-to-machine M2M communication and plays an important role in the Internet of Things. We introduced cloud connection setting and cloud whitelist. Before upload data to the cloud, the user must finish the MQTT broker setting on the cloud base of WebAccess and connection setting on the ground-based WebAccess as well. So the setting page is on the node property itself within our WebAccess SCADA. Later, maybe we have time, I can show you on that portion. The MTT broker setting is also can be configured in terms of the user account and everything, all done in the WebAccess. So if you have a project related and you want to make use of this MQTT acting as a broker for using our WebAccess, you can let us know and we will provide information and work with you on that portion. But for this 3 days course, we are not covering on the MQTT portion. So in terms of MQTT, furthermore, okay, we have our module which can directly support MQTT. For example, our WISE module, ECU 1152 and ADAM 3600 series, which able to provide a plug and play kind of concept towards our WebAccess SCADA. So all this configuration, which can be done on the cloud connection setting, and you can name all your tags locally on setting up on your IoT devices, and we'll establish that transmission up to your cloud service via the MQTT. So for MQTT wise, there's a showcase of this diagram how you can visualize, which what we can do is we can make use of SCADA as the center broker and establish this connection so we can develop the IoT when we come to talk about IoT. Okay. So for now, the last will be our operating environment for WebAccess SCADA. Okay. On the server side, it support under Windows 8.1, Windows Server 2012 and above, and Windows 10. But please take note, Windows 10, it does not support all types of Windows 10 version, especially for Home and Premier. It's not being supported. You will not be able to perform installation on this platform system. So do take note, if you were to try at your home, do ensure that you have at least a Windows 10 Professional Edition and above. And you will need the IIS 7.5 and Net Framework 4.5 which normally you may not have to worry because we do include this particular package installer in the WebAccess installation file. So normally when you download it and install, it will also install all these services within your Windows platform. Then we have the version now is version 8.4 all the way to version 9, which is coming in soon, and their license. In terms of hardware, for usage in the PC, you need to have a minimum of Intel Atom or Celeron dual processor with 4 gig RAM and 200 gigabyte of hard disk storage space. The rest for phone, in terms of viewing the SCADA, your iPhone, you need at least iPhone 5 and above. Android will have a slightly higher quad-core or higher with 2 gig RAM. And the Windows Phone. So the browser that we normally use, so you normally will have at least two, IE11 and also the Chrome, whichever you prefer. Firefox, Safari also can. So everything is all by web-based, which we explained. So all the setup is done via web-based, and we will showcase this after this session, or which is the live demo session. So in terms of the SCADA side, the basic knowledge, what is able to perform in terms of their features, you have a rough idea. We will share this PowerPoint slide to you. Now I will just go into the live demo portion to let you have a visualization. How does the software look like, and the actual feel of it. Give me some time. Let me change my screen.
Thank you, Darren. Darren will continue with the live demo. Just now he was trying to introduce to you the basic concept of WebAccess. What are the things that you need to consider in order to do the project? What are the components of WebAccess? And the next one will be the live demo. So we'll try to do a project.
Okay, let me know whether you can see my screen now. Let me try to reconnect again. Hold on. Okay, I believe you're able to see this desktop screen.
Yes, we can see.
Okay, all right, let's start here. So this is actually one of our, we make use of one of our UNO 2484 industrial IPC to be this project and SCADA node. So we have performed installation on here, but let's start with the beginning. I think we have 1 hour to go through this live demo. So first, let me go through the very basic. If I'm a new user, what should I do, or what kind of factor should I start from? Okay, let's go to the Internet Chrome. In case you're not able to see anything clearly or what, do let me know, or maybe sound it out to me so that I can take note of it. Well, I'll proceed to continue to showcase and explain a few points. And later maybe at a later portion, if you have any question that we can relay back, I will try to answer your question. But let me go through the whole procedure, how we start from scratch. And today's objective is to establish the database connection. We also try to establish the system point just to showcase how we can view this information through our WebAccess SCADA, and creation of the project node SCADA node as well also, and all those different things that you may need to take note or may need to understand why. But first of all, we go through the very basic, where to download WebAccess SCADA. So from here, when you go to Google, for example, now I'm using Google Chrome, so I already have my search engine there. So I just type in WebAccess SCADA. Okay, so within our Google search page, it will be located in the first one over here. Okay, can you see? Then when you select it, you'll be redirected to our WebAccess SCADA page, which is all the WebAccess related information or technical documents can be found within this web page. So you can see here, we have some videos here. So you can learn more about WebAccess, the SCADA, the software, the trial download, license download, online demonstration, technical support resources, or even forum. It's all located within this website, which during the session when we share the PowerPoint, we also can indicate this particular link to you, or you can search it by your own. So from here, WebAccess SCADA. You can see over here, you can have download the brochure or data sheet, which provides you more information in terms of the SCADA. But in terms of installation, we go through the trial download. So when you select the trial download, you will be redirected to our support web page, which is all our drivers download, anything pertaining to our devices can be found here. So when you select trial download, you see here, we have two options in our support download page right now. We have the WebAccess SCADA version 8.4, and we have an upcoming 9.0. But for today, we work on and focus on WebAccess 8.4. Maybe in the next quarter or what, we will focus on version 9 in the future. So for this one, you can see you have 1, 2, 3, 4 different type of installer. So the first question will be, which one do I download? So for new user, this kind of thing you might experience and you might encounter, and it will be a question mark for you where you have no one to talk to. So that's the reason for today's session. What we want to download will be this. This is the main installer of our WebAccess software. So this is actually the version 8.8, version 8.4.4 installer file. This file is probably about 1.6 gigabits. So it will take some time for you to download. But in order to, because we have about 1 hour session, so we speed up the process by downloading in advance and performing the installation. But what I will recommend you is to download all of these files, because some features may require extension or patch file to be installed. In case you were to play or so-called use the features, it may require to do so. So I recommend download or store in a single folder as your main installation file. So the download process will be straightforward. Just click either on the primary and secondary, and your download will start activating. So once you download, which I will showcase over here in my download section, so you will find this particular file, Advantech WebAccess 8.4.4. Okay, maybe in the screen you'll see will be quite small, but there will be a download file called Advantech WebAccess Note version 8.84. So this is the installation file. Okay. So on the installation file, let me show you. We have instruction steps that we can go for in terms of showcase, where we will provide you a training guide material that you can make use of in terms of practicing. We have a link that you can so-called look up into this web page. Let me show it to you now. Okay, so this is the web page. Okay, so this particular training document that has been designed by our HQ team back in 2016. So the installation step by step, and even the breakdown in terms of what to practice. There's a few exercises within this document that you can follow through to gain more information. We will cover the topic of how to get a small project. So we will not cover every of this section, but in terms of how to proceed with the installation process, you can find it within this document itself. So it's a 200 over pages, and all the details step by step how it's being performed. As you can see, installing WebAccess software, follow through the steps, and you are able to establish the installation. So this portion, I believe, is quite straightforward to proceed on. So I will not cover, just to showcase to you. So after you perform the installation, done, finished, completed, okay, you will notice that at my bottom right hand corner, it's a bit small for you all to see, but at the bottom right hand corner beside your time, you will see these two computer icon over here at the bottom. Sorry, maybe I ask my colleague to check. Paul, Nolly, can you see the icon?
Yeah, we can see the icon.
Okay, yeah. So this is the icon. Once you finish the installation, what I want to remind you is that do remember to perform a restart after the completion. It will prompt you to restart. We will say that it's best to perform restart on your computer after you install, in case you avoid any problem or on the software side. When you finish the installation and you restart your computer, which is what you're looking at right now, quite similar, this icon is where you work your project. So from here, when you right click this icon, you will see this following option: the start kernel, draw DAQ, view DAQ, all the features all in here. But how to access when we talk about SCADA is 100% web-based? How can we go into that page? You can select the project home here. This is one method. And it will direct you via the IE to access to the WebAccess user interface. So you can see the website here. When you go through this app or so-called installation, okay, it will go under the local host. But there's actually multiple ways you can access in as well. This is one method. Second method, you can go via the IP address because now you have installed the software on this computer, right? So this computer become your server host or your web host. For your web host, what you can do is like this. You can go to this CMD, for example. Under the command prompt, right, you are able to see that I can search my IP address. Okay, over here, you see? My IP address currently right now where I set up this PC is having a dynamic IP of 192.168.1.180. Okay, so if I were to access to this IP via the web browser over here, you see? Okay, and enter. I will be directed to the WebAccess SCADA as well. But there's one key thing I need to emphasize. If you have another different application also using the web host, it is not able to run two web hosts on a single PC at the same time, which means maybe you have other application also using via a web host and you install SCADA onto that system as well, you will have issue. So we always recommend for SCADA system to be a standalone system without any other application, especially when you are doing a project. Do not combine it because you never know that the web host services are being held by the resources is being held by another different application. So when you install WebAccess, you will encounter error, or even worse, you can't even see this page. So do take note, your system that you install WebAccess should not have other web host services running by other application. So this is the second method to access in. Another method is like this, because I'm now showing you a remote desktop, correct, which I'm physically on the computer itself. I can also access in via the host IP, which is 127.0.01. Okay, I can arrive to the same page. So that means I have three different methods of accessing the same page. If I access via a remote over here, any computer within the same subnet group or within the same subnet network, right? You can also access this page via the Internet Explorer, which means you don't have to be physically on this computer to do the setup. You can use another client PC or just any laptop, go into the same network, derive to the same page. So for the understanding how to access the page or the web page is like this. I believe it should be clear. The next thing, what we do once you arrive this page, what is the next step? So you can see within here, there's multiple features around here. Project management, real-time monitoring, dashboard viewer, and etc. Okay, we are just going to cover the main thing on the project node. So first step, you have to go into your project management. Let me close the extra one. Okay, here. Project management. Okay, so here is how it looks like for WebAccess interface. So over here, you have a few features. Right now, this is your main page or the main menu of the WebAccess. Okay, so now I want to start a project. Let me go through my tops here, current project here. You can see that we have, I have created one for testing to make sure to be prepared. But let's go through step by step again. So like I explained now, my objective of this current setup is to connect a I/O module with our SCADA and a dashboard. And I want to also showcase that I want to store this information in our database. So this computer, I've already pre-installed a SQL 2016 valuation or so-called express version of the SQL server to simulate that portion. In terms of the whole installation process of your SQL, it's going to be determined by how you can check with Microsoft how it's being done, or you can go online and search. Okay, so for us, we have already pre-installed because the whole installation process, let me just roughly give you an idea. SCADA installation will take probably about 20 plus to 30 minutes depending on your computer CPU speed. And SQL, the server or so-called database will take also probably about 30 to 45 minutes time to finish the whole installation process. You can install the SCADA, then later install the SQL, or install SQL first, then install SCADA. Either way is workable. Just that every installation do restart your computer to avoid any other future issue or need to do any other troubleshooting. Okay, so for now we already established our SQL, which is being installed on this computer. Now, how are we going to connect our database? So over here, you can see we have one option here, which is called the ODBC log data source. So this is where you connect your WebAccess or so-called your whole project to the third-party database. So let's click into it. So from here, this menu page, which is the ODBC log data source. Okay, over here you can see under this table form. Now you can see there's two. ID number 1, which is a data source name PWP data access. This is a pre-built-in, or so-called when you install the SCADA, it will come with this by default, which what I explained in my previous PowerPoint. It comes already with a database using the Microsoft Access. So this is our default, or so-called the Windows real-time database. Okay, and you can add in additional database. I've added one just for testing, but let me walk you through the whole situation or how the whole procedure, how to do so. As you can see below the field, to create a new data source, I need the following field. I need the data source ID. I need the data source name. I need the login, password, and a description. Where do I get all this information? Let me show you how. First, you go to your my computer or your this PC, yeah? Okay. When you install the Microsoft SQL, we're just talking about Microsoft SQL first. Under the C drive, there's a section called Windows. Within the Windows, we will have this directory called the syswow64 over here. Okay. When we go into it, it shows us all the system, syswow64, all the different files. What we do, within the search, we search for ODBCA D32. Okay, over here, you can see. So from here, this is the SQL database where we go in, run as administrator. So now you are at the ODBC data source administrator page. We want to focus into the system data source name. So you will see there's a few lists over here. Okay. I've already created one for testing, but let me walk you through how to create one more. You can have multiple. So you press on the add button. From the add, you will be prompted to create a new data source. So select a data driver. Select a driver for which you want to set up your data source. So the driver that we want to look for is our native client, which is here, SQL Server native client. For this version, we are running on the 11.11. Okay, we select this, we select finish. Next is prompted for me to create the data source name. So this name is very important. What you type here is what you have to enter within your WebAccess, where I just now will show you the page. So for this simulation, let me try to create, I put it as IoT Jump, which represent IoT Jumpstart. Okay. Description is up to you how you want it described, because as long as you create for your own project, you can put information related to your project. This will be helpful because sometimes you might have multiple SCADA node or catering different application within your whole SCADA. So identifying which is which is all based on the description. Easier for you to know what it is. But for my case here, I only have one, so I just leave it as the same for the concept of understanding. I put it as the same, or I can just put Jumpstart Wise, for example, for tomorrow's session. Okay. And the key point here, which SQL server do you want to connect to? So the server, we have to select. You click on the drop down list. You'll be prompted to select the PC, or so-called the server. So right now, because when we install WebAccess, this physical computer will be the server. And this physical computer name is called the Desktop 954 GIU7. So since I want to connect to this and acting as the SQL database server, I select this as my PC, okay, as the SQL server to connect to. So this is the 3 key item that you need to fill up. This name and description is up to your creativity. Best to name it as close as possible so they can relate. But the key thing is the server. Make sure you select the correct server, or make sure you find out that server PC, what is the computer name, because you might have a situation where you have multiple server on the network and it will come out even more selection within your maybe office environment, or in terms of your the production plant network, you will see multiple devices. So do take note which one is which one. We have to relay it via the computer name. We'll proceed next to the next setup. So here, how should the SQL verify the authentication? This one very important. Okay. By default, it's selected with the integrated Windows authentication, meaning using your Windows authentication. But sometimes your Windows running on domain, so you might have other complication as well. So what we do is here, we select with the SQL server authentication using login ID and password entered by the user. So normally for SQL, we understand that normally people, when they use the authentication, they always use SA as the login name as a format. So for password, it's up to you in terms of what kind of password you want to enter. For my case now, I will use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 80, okay, as the login. So I must remember I created a login as SA and the password is 80. So let me open a notepad to take down the details. Okay, so my login is SA, small letter, password is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so I record it somewhere here. Later we'll refer back. Then we proceed with the next step. Okay, here we need to change the default database. This one very important. If you do not change this, you might not be able to get the web access and establish the connection with the SQL. So within the database, we need to select the BW web access, okay, as the server. So your point is that this is able to do the connection between our web access and the SQL. The rest of the item you may not need to change, and you can proceed forward. Next, from here also, there's nothing much you need to change. It's just a standard setup. If you are very familiar with SQL server, you can do so and make any changes you like. But for us, we're going to go use the basic function, so we don't have to. And we press finish. So from here, it will provide you the details you can see. So this is the details that we are trying to create, or the so-called the data source name that we are going to create. So our data source name is what we enter in IoT Jump, and the description. So sometimes I just want like to copy and paste to a notepad just in case. I can refer back, but it's easier. Okay, so I have all these details. Okay, then you must make sure that the database selected is the DW web access. That's remember the things that you need to check. Server, I know is connect to my computer, and the rest is all the standard. Okay, but from this step, you need to test this data source. So you select the test data. So you can see here, we have run the test under the native client. The test is successfully, the test completed successfully. That means you created the data source correctly and it's workable now. It is already created within the data source. Okay, you press OK, then make sure you press OK and go until this menu. Once you see this one, once you press OK, you see we have created the data source over here. So it's labeled out. Make sure you double check that it's listed out here. Sometimes you may have forgotten, you press cancel, you did not create a database, and later you try to link it up, you have problem. So that portion is done. You press OK and it will close. So the initial setup within the ODBC site is already done. Now we go back to the web access again. So from web access, the source ID, how to differentiate what is the source ID? Right now you see our primary database is 1, source ID number 1. Then I created a test before we have this seminar, so it's already allocated as 2. So therefore, when I create this new one, I should indicate as 3, and so on, if you have more than 1 or multiple. So this is how you identify your data source ID, is giving a label ID for each of your DSN. The data source name is the one that we created. So just now we create data source name, which is called IoT Jump. Okay, so we enter in IoT Jump. and the data source login name. Okay, this is the part where just now when we create the login ID under SA, this is where you enter in the login ID, SA. With the same password, password is 80, that what we have created. So we repeat the process for the password and description. I can just put, say this is IoT Jumpstart for this for today's session. Once those details is entered, next we click on this submit for the new ODBC. Okay. So when it's created, you will see here on the table at the top, it was successfully created here already. So that means you have already established web access and link it up with your SQL database. And we need to double check the connection. You see here, have a connection test. Select it and you make sure that the connection test is successful. In case you fail, it could be related to the information that you entered, or in terms of the case sensitive of your data soft name, maybe you enter wrongly, so it's not able to establish. So you can go back and repeat my previous step, make sure everything is the same, and try it again. You can delete and re-update it or add in again in the future. Okay, if you were to fail in this portion. But for us, we are successful. So from here, I want to explain one more thing here, very important. By default, if you do not select your source ID 2 or 3, it will be selecting under the first one. But as you can see, when I was performing testing, I tried to test under a different, my previous test data source, right? So now it's selected this as the default. Remember, when you set here as the default, meaning in terms of your tag, when you add in anything and select as default, which I will show you later, it means it will store the information on this database. So now for this case, I want to select our newly created as the default. So here say change data source, yes. Okay, so now you see the select indication is here. You will notice the delete function is no longer. You cannot delete the database when it's being active, or so-called you are being selected it. So you can only delete when you want to perform delete. You make sure that you don't select that database and perform delete. Okay, so for this step, you actually cleared the portion of connecting web access to database. Next, we move on. Now we need to create the project node. From here, you can access the main home page over here at the top right hand corner, home. Okay, you will go back to the same page as what we initially log in. After we log in, you will see the page. So from here on, what we do is under the project configuration, we can create a new project. So let's do one simple project name. Same thing, we use the same concept, is for IoT Jumpstart. So I just put as IoT Jump. Put one start also. Okay, Jumpstart. Okay, so my current project that we are trying to develop for this day is IoT Jump. Description, we want to connect the WISE 4012E, which is for tomorrow's session. But description is up to you how you want to indicate or to identify which is the item. It's up to your decision. Okay, so I put as this one to indicate is for this one. Next, I go into the node IP. Okay, now project node IP. This one very important. This one is to identify what is the IP address for your project node. For current setup right now we have today, I'm going to create a project node on the same exact PC. Okay, so I have two options. I can go for localhost IP because the SCADA is already installed on this localhost, or I can specify a static IP, which currently I'm not set on static, but I'm on dynamic, but it can be the same. So it's 192.168.1.180, pointing towards this computer, which what we get here. This is my computer IP address right now. So I specify that this computer will be the project node. Okay, the rest of the details are all standardized in terms of the communication port, so we do not have to make any changes. And for our current objective or application, we don't require to make changes, but if you need to, it can be done over here. Just make sure that your project node and your SCADA node are on the same TCP communication port. So if you put 4592, make sure your SCADA node is also reflected as 4592. If you change here, you make sure you also change your SCADA node. If not, your project node and SCADA node cannot communicate. So after this step, we go for submit new project. Okay. Once we create the project, you see at the top section here under current project. Okay, the first one was a test that I did. Next, I have IoT Jumpstart, which I created. You will see I have the description, I have the IP address of the server and the port that is communicating on. I can delete this project or update it. But what I will select will be configure. So now you will see the project node, SCADA node configuration interface. So first we have our project called IoT Jumpstart that we created. We already indicated the IP address, and this is for tomorrow purpose that we are trying to connect our IoT development kit. So that's the objective. So this is the project node. Now I need to add in the SCADA node. So over here at the top section, you can see there's a word called add SCADA node over here. So I select it, you come to this option page. This is how you configure or set up your SCADA node. So for the SCADA node here, I will say for this node, I want to do monitoring of our IoT development kit for day 2 and day 3. So maybe my node name, I can put it as WISE 4012E monitoring system, MS. And a description I just put as WISE monitoring system, MS. Okay. So my SCADA node, because since my project node and SCADA node is on the same PC, therefore I will use the same IP address or even localhost if necessary. Localhost advantage is that if your computer that you are accessing, because you are using it as a standalone, in case your IP is setting up as a dynamic IP, which is being assigned by a router, so if the IP address change, when you access from this physical PC, you can still use your localhost to access in also. So for now, I put as the IP of 1.180, which is my computer. And the rest of the setup, I just briefly explain. Here is the output SMTP. This is where your email notification setup will be configured over here in this portion. And bottom, you have a few more details that we will not go through, but the key point I want to let you know, data log to this. This one, we will look into this later, but the option is under the SCADA node side. Okay, then we go down below. So in case, remember, in my presentation, I say we can use SCADA as an OPC server. So this is where you set up the OPC here. Just click on yes. You can create this WebAccess SCADA as the OPC server. Okay, this is where you set the option here. But we are not going to do that for today. And also in terms of redundancy and backup. So the setting is also done in this page. So you put up your backup node that you create. What is the backup node that you want to create, the node description, and also the IP address of your backup system or the PC with the same communication port that you flag on. Then you can proceed. But for us, we don't need to do this one today. I'll just proceed to submit. I can anytime change the setting. This is just the initial part. So you notice at the right left-hand corner, I have one IoT Jumpstart, which is my project. Then the next layer is my SCADA node, which is the WISE 4012 E monitoring system. Okay. So I already successfully create a project node and SCADA node. It's already one type of application already. But because tomorrow we will continue I/O, how do I make sure that my SCADA node, project node, everything run smoothly and properly, right? What I can do is like this, a simple one. Under the SCADA node, when you select this 4012, you will look at this page. At the top, you see there's a system point. So we can select the system point. Okay. Here we can create some like a dummy value to simulate the system, whether is it working or not. So I can add a system point. Currently, my objective, I want to try to pull the time, which is our computer time right now, 4:19, right? I want to pull the second, minute, and hour. How do I go about to pull? Because when you do your project, you might have a situation where you need to pull some system information or even pull from your database to reflect part of your calculation or scripting in the SCADA to work to do the calculation. So every of these variable, you have to create a tag for it. Every variable or a new calculated data value, have to prepare a tag for it by itself. So what we do is that under the parameter, okay, we have quite a few lists of parameters that we can pull from in terms of value or functionality. This value all, I will not go through the list, but let me show you something before we proceed. Over here, in case you want to find out any information, you can click on the help button at the top right hand corner. When you select the help button, you'll be directed to another HTML page where all the information about our WebAccess SCADA can be found here with some example. You know, like if you want to do scripting, you can search for it. Like for example, this now perimeter. You can search here and can review and look for more information or read through. So all those are the user menu is located within the application itself, and you can navigate through how to connect I/O devices. All the instruction, how to start, and all the link all can be located within the help section. So in case you have encountered any issue with the software, you can either contact us or you can ownself go into help and find out whether you can find some information to help resolve. But for now, what we are trying to do is we are trying to get hold of the time. So for time, currently right now, I'll use the parameter for this time management second. Okay, when I select this parameter, you notice the description come out is current second, which means it's going to pull the current second right now for me to store in. So I give a tag name. So for example, now I want to do as time, which is a second. This is my variable description, or also called tag name. Okay, I create one called time second, which description I put as current second. This is where I want to capture. So I create one tag for this, or create one variable for it. I submit. Okay, you notice when I press submit, it will come back to the same page. You might sometimes get confused. Did I create properly? How can I come back to the same thing? If you notice here the tag name, now behind got one at the back. Previously I set it as set, but now come out one. This is part of the WebAccess features where when you are creating tag, sometimes you may have to create multiple DI or DO, right? Or whole long list. So you don't have to one by one keep on typing it. It will try to simulate that, your next one, you may be 1, 2, 3, 4, or so on. It will help you to do that part. But for now, I only need 1 for second and I need another minute. So I have to change the parameter. I change to minute. So I have to give the same tag name for me, underscore minute, and current minute I create as well. So I can also do a testing since my default source, right? If you notice here at the bottom, ODBC log data source is set up as default. But just now previously, I already set my default as the new IoT jump this data source name, correct? So when I select default, it means it's stored under that particular database. But I can also change it. If you see here, I have my internal and my testing previously. You can also select to store it at which location for this particular tag. So if you select default, it will go under IoT jump. But you can also select IoT jump here. So it's up to you to decide where you want to store this information in which database. You can also test the connection to ensure that this tag is able to get connected, or the connectivity from here to the database is also working fine. As you can see, test successfully test. Okay, so you can do a test run also if you want to. But for us, we will proceed. We continue the next one. So let me speed through, create these 3 variables first. So next is our hour. Same thing, put under underscore hour. Okay, then we will just create. Okay, now I've already done my objective to create the second, minute, and hour. Now I go to the system list. You can see I created these 3 variables. Okay, now how am I going to view this information or get the record? Before I can do so, I need to go into the main page of the SCADA and download this configuration. How we get it work? We need to download the config file, compile it, compress, so that we can run this application. So we click on submit. See, now it's downloading to the primary SCADA node. So you create your project and your primary SCADA node. You generate the file then so that you can run it in your kernel, running on the WebAccess kernel, which I will showcase later. Okay. So we give it some time for the initial process to create this particular document or file. Then when it's done, it will show us that it's completed or done. Every time you make changes or any setting, or you want to reflect a new setting or add new text, remember to always download, because sometimes you have a tendency of creating the tag or you add in another few settings, but you never download. And when you run the kernel, it's like no changes at all. So do take note on that part. So now it's already done and completed. Let's close the window. Okay, there's two methods of starting the node. One is via the start node over here, which you can select it, or you can also run from the small icon at the bottom under the right click, then you can start kernel. As you can see, start kernel, we have one listed here, IoT Jumpstart WISE 4012E monitoring system. So the first one is the project node, the second one is the SCADA node. I can start from here and let it run. When it runs, you notice the icon at the bottom from blue, red go to blue, then after it go to green. When you see green, is an indication that your SCADA is already running in the background, meaning it's already started accumulating or acquiring information. But because we just now only showcase system point, how are we going to view this the 3 minutes, second, minute, and hours? We go to the view data DAQ. So from here, view DAQ, which is one of the dashboard editor, also called the dashboard viewer, right? To view the information or to query the information. So you let it run for a moment. It will take some time for it to load. Okay, so once it's loaded over here, we have, I'm not sure whether it's quite small, but we have one called the point information, which is this icon over here, small little one between the left and right arrow on the left side. So for the point information, you are able to see, you see over here is the 3 system point that I created earlier on, where I showcase here. So now I see the value, the hour, what is captured, because I captured current time. So now time is 4:27. So this is a 24-hour format. So I'm getting a value of 16. Minutes is 27. And the second is counting. See, the 27 is counting. So this is the actual live one that we are capturing. This shows that whatever we configure just now in terms of pulling information is working, is running right now. Okay, so it's running correctly. So this is one how you can check to make sure that this value is correct. So we already covered that portion. Now next thing we have to cover is the data logging. How can we log the data? Okay, so this one let's exit first. Okay, we'll put it aside. Okay, so now how can we configure data logging? Data logging right now, because of time constraint, we do data logging on the second. So we go back to the system point over here in your project. System point, we log in second here. Okay, we can go in and update. So any changes you want to do can be done so. But from here, we can do the logging over here. So right now, I'm in the second one because I know second, the value keep on changing every second based on the time right now. So I know I can trigger some things from there. So I log in to this ODBC in terms of logging to the frequency. So I can set either second or minute. So right now to showcase, I log every 5 seconds, for example. Okay. So for the 5 second, I set up the setting over here. So it's done. We just make sure go in. Let me double confirm. See, it reflect 5 seconds. Okay, submit. Okay, now, how do we check data logging? We have to go back to the main page over here. Before we go there, make sure, because I changed the setting, I need to download and submit. Because now I changed and I enable the login to the ODBC. But right now, because my kernel is starting, you see my kernel is green color signal below. So for the newer version of these are 8.4 and above, right? When I'm in running the kernel, which is already running in the background, and I make changes and download, sometimes it will help me to download and restart the node again. That means I don't have to go and start the kernel again. So let's give it some time for it to run. Then later part, I'll show you how we can view or query this information. Okay, see, primary SCADA node restarted in communication mode. That means they already helped me to download and restart the kernel. So you can see my activity is still running under this project. It's still green icon. We close the window. Okay, now we go back to our home page. So let's see our data logging. Where to look at the data logging is at the home page, where you can see your different project, right? Okay, how we want to check whether our data logging is active, we can go under the analog tag log over here. So under analog tag log, there's a few criteria that you want to query about. Okay, so under query, we do under custom query. You can set all or can customize. In terms of project, because we want to check on our project, this is a project IoT Jumpstart that we created. That's why I want to query whether my logging is working, because I log every 5 seconds, right? So my node, because I only have one node now, so I just select that one node. In case you have multiple, you can choose more. But for the start date and end date, you see now it's come out is 1st of May to 26th, which is today. So I don't need to have so long because today just started. So we put 26 to 26. Time, let's put 0 hour to 24 hour. And the source, because we select default, which means it will go to the IoT Jump database. So I just remain as default. In case I want to change to other database, I can do so on this portion here. Okay. Then because you see just now when I enable the time second this tag, right, it will only display here 1 because I only enable 1 right now. And how I query is by selecting this, okay, uncheck the all and select this and pass it on to the right side of the box, the field box here. So you need to make sure anything indicate on this right side box is the one that you want to query. The left side is what you have, but right now we only have 1, so it's only showing 1. Okay. From then on, we click on submit. Oh, no data. Wait, let me go back again. New query. Okay, we go back here. Okay, let's try again. Oh, yeah. Oh, one more thing. I almost forgot. I have to enable the data logging as well. So I have to go back to my configuration. Okay. So we need to enable the SCADA node. Okay. Then I need to because I forgotten to enable the SCADA node for data logging. I only enable the logging on the tech side only. So let me go in and enable the SCADA node. So now in the SCADA page, I have to set up one more here below over here. There's one data logging. Okay, here, see, this is the setting. Just now when we see we don't have information is because I also need to enable the data logging side. Initially, the second is the time to log every 5 seconds in terms of frequency. And I also need to go to the SCADA node side to enable the data log to the ODBC. So I need to click yes and submit in. Okay. So from here, I really change the setting on the SCADA side. Let me download and re-trigger the whole setup again. So as you can see, when you are dealing with so many details on that, sometimes you might forgotten a few steps or in terms of where to set up. So this is how we can troubleshoot and recall in case you encounter the same situation where you don't see any data in terms of logging. Do go and check whether you have the data logging being enabled. So you can cross-check on that portion. So let's give it some time for it to restart. Okay, so it has already restarted. Let's close the window. Okay, and now we go back to home again. I believe it should start to have logging over here. Let's speed up the process here. IoT jump node date. I just put today's date. Okay, and I want to query this time second. Submit. Okay, see? So you can see right now, this is the query of the database. So we can see that every few seconds is what we set. Every 5 seconds is being logged. So it's the same steps or procedure if you were to do for your AI and DI as well. So, and how to make sure that your data is actually recorded, right? You can go through this particular method to view the information. So what for us right now is doing second and every 5 seconds is logging. That means we have successfully enabled the data logging procedure. So in terms, it's not, you must understand which setting plays what role and enable and configure. It's not on the programming style to set up, but it's more on the knowledge where to enable the services or features. So for today, we are covering to this point because we have successfully logged. Just to summarize what we did, we have performed installation. Example, once you finish installation, what to do. We created the project, we created the database, and also we created the SCADA node, system tag, data logging, and we already cross-check how to query the data logging. So those are the basic understanding or the know-how to start this project so that we can move on slightly more complicated, which is for tomorrow's session, where we are going to add in the WISE module IoT development kit. So this WISE, my colleague will be talking more about that. Then after her discussion, then we will be covering how to set up or how to add in this. So for today's session right now, I believe we can stop at this stage where we will continue on tomorrow from this, but we will leave the same project because what you attended today will be utilized for tomorrow.